Welcome to episode 12 of Overtime with Jared P. and Johnny O. We have a special guest we've been talking about for weeks that he's going to join us, and we got him on. Former NFL player Jeremy Phillips. We're going to get his insight on all things football. It's going to be a heavy football podcast, heavy NFL, a little bit of college football as well, top five power rankings, and we're going to do like who do you trust more with different types of quarterbacks and coaches and, kind of this or that as well, and a little bit about college football. Well, Jeremy, first of all, thanks for joining us, and tell us a little bit about your business, Elite Performance Chiropractic, real quick.
Um, Thank you so much for having me on, guys. My name is Jeremy Phillips. I am former professional football player, local guy, grew up in Eden, North Carolina, which is right up in Rockingham County. And 16 years ago, Sunday, November 10th, I opened Elite Performance Chiropractic here in Greensboro. For our first 12 years, we were on New Garden Road. And in 2020, during the pandemic, we built the building right beside Village Tavern. And so that's where we're operating out of now and located. And we also have another practice over in Winston. But I'm kind of the local chiropractor, works with a lot of athletes, active people, not your traditional type of chiropractic. Every doctor, including myself, that works within our facility is specialized in this technique called active release technique, which is a patented soft tissue technique that I learned about while playing in the NFL. I'm a big believer in the life takes you places you're supposed to be. And I played in the NFL for a short stint, kind of injury riddled, but was treated by the chiropractors in the NFL in this manner. All of those guys were active release certified and stuff like that. And so when I retired from football, I went back to school, became a chiropractor, as well as got my active release certification. And that's what I brought into private practice here in Greensboro. And we've been, like I said, doing this for 16 years, and things have been great. We see anywhere from grandma and grandpa to, some of the local athletes, high school athletes and college athletes that you hear about in the news here. And we love it. We love it. It's wonderful. We try to do a good job in keeping people active, whatever their goals are.
No, it's great. And if people want to learn more about you, what's the website or the best way?
epchiropractic.com. Elite Performance Chiropractic is the name of my business. So it's epchiropractic.com.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. You being a former professional football player, I think you can have some insight, just even with your career. It led you to the career you're in now. But we're excited to have you on because, obviously I know way more about sports than Johnny does, but it might be nice to have someone who actually plays sports.
Yeah.
He's all into baseball and boring stuff that doesn't get any traction. It's fine. But
You're lucky I'm not feeling very well today, man.
That's why we don't do this in person. We talk more trash.
Yeah.
But so we always do our top five NFL power rankings. And Jeremy, why don't you, since you're our guest and you play the NFL, why don't you start? And then if we have anything different, or we might have some questions, we can go from there.
As far as give you my top five right now?
Yeah, maybe from five. And I'm very big on 5-1. Don't start with one; that ruins it. 5-1.
I mean, I would say five. I would say, gosh, let me give you my five and let me rank them afterwards. I got Baltimore, I got Detroit, I got, of course, Kansas City. Yeah. Let me see. Their record doesn't show up, but they've been dealing with injuries. But I think San Fran's in the top five mix for me.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm saying Buffalo.
Okay.
And I think Kansas City this year is beatable to me. They really haven't played lights out. It is very, very much, and I told somebody this earlier, it's very, very much like the glory days of New England, how they had the luxury of kind of playing in a weaker division. And so they feel like they're on cruise control right now, and they're playing around with some personnel groupings and stuff like that, trying to get things kind of figured out. But at the same time, they're managing to win ball games. I'm not taking anything away from them. They're winning ball games. But they're just not winning in a fashion to where I think it's hard to cut that on. when it's time to win in playoff football. Now, Tom Brady was fantastic in the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick. They were fantastic at it. And we'll see with Kansas City. I mean, obviously they're the two-time champs. They know how to win, but they just kind of seem a little bit more on cruise control this year than have been. Now, granted, again, they play in a weak division, in my opinion, so they can kind of play around with personnel groupings and try this, try that, kind of getting quote unquote playoff ready. Detroit, I think, they looked a little bit weird on Sunday night with Goff throwing 5 picks, but
Yeah, that was wild.
yeah, I think for a while, I think they were the best all-around team in football. Now, were there better defenses out there? Were there better offenses out there? Yes, but putting a good product on both sides of the ball on the field at the same time, I think Detroit. I mean, coming off last or Sunday night's a little bit kind of got me iffy in this thing, but I think they had the best overall football team product at this point in time of the season.
Yep.
Buffalo, I think Buffalo was solid. Of course, Allen's solid. I think they're missing weapons there. I think they missed Diggs there this year. They're, in my opinion, kind of suspect at running back. They really don't have that bell cow running back right now. I think they could use some help there. I was actually looking for them to maybe do something at the trade deadline to try to pick up somebody, but it was kind of slim pickings on availability or what you're willing to give up at the trade deadline for that. Baltimore, I love Baltimore. I mean, Derrick Henry in a Baltimore uniform is scary.
Yep.
And it's been a match made in heaven thus far there. Obviously, we got some games to be played yet, and health's always a concern. And they're using him quite a bit, even though he is that big back that can handle that load. But they're playing well. They do have their suspicions at secondary. I mean, they were in an absolute shootout for 2 games with Cincinnati, and but they pulled them out, so they found a way to win. But they're giving up a lot of passing yardage. And then San Fran, I think that's kind of my all right. Here we go. They're righting the ship here. They got McCaffrey back this week. Obviously, there's some game conditioning that he's got to go through over these next couple of weeks and stuff like that. But they got a solid defense. I really like Purdy at quarterback, so I look for San Fran to start kind of separating themselves as well.
I could see that.
I like that. I don't have San Fran in my top 5, but I like your reasoning for it because they're going to be trending in the right direction. My son, Eli, he's 13. He loves the NFL. He loves all sports. But he's telling me just yesterday he saw a meme talking about San Francisco being hurt all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He saw a meme that said San Francisco's healthiest wide receiver was shot in the chest 2 months ago. And obviously I think Debo is back, but so. But it was a funny meme, but it was just kind of highlighting the fact that they've been banged up. But you get healthy at the right time. I mean, what do you have? 8 more games left. I mean, it could possibly win 13 games, but double-digit games is not out of the realm of possibility.
Sure.
For me, my differences. I'll do my differences. I think I have Baltimore has been in and out of my top 5, and the only reason being is what you said. That secondary is a problem. And they didn't make any changes at the trade deadline or anything substantial. It doesn't seem like it doesn't matter what they scheme up. It seems like they are so porous in the secondary. And when you get into the playoffs, as you know, with these, usually the teams with the best quarterbacks rise to the top. And I can't see them going that far into the playoffs. When you have to win in shootouts. Just one bad game, like Jared Goff. They don't have to win in shootouts, but he threw 5 picks, but their team's good enough to overcome that.
That was amazing that they won.
Yeah,
exactly. If Lamar Jackson threw 5 picks, they would get blown out,
Sure.
because their defense is so bad. And then my 2 teams that you didn't have in the top 5 would be Pittsburgh at number 5. I think Russell Wilson, everyone thought he was washed, and I think he's in the right place with a team that believes in him and a solid defense, and they have good skilled position players. I mean, Pickens is he's having a great year, and he's so happy that Russell Wilson is starting now because he's getting a lot of targets and a lot of catches, a lot of yards, And at number 4, although they lost to Pittsburgh, I have the Commanders at number 4. They had some boneheaded plays. They blew that game against Pittsburgh at the end. When they say rookie mistake, they actually had a rookie jump off sides when you knew they were going to try to draw them off sides on 4th down and 1, and that's the game. So I mean, I really like them, and because they're a younger team and there was some veterans mixed in with Eckler and McLaurin and different things. Jaden Daniels, I mean, his roof is so high.
Oh.
And they're only getting better. And I just think, and maybe you can speak to this with young teams you've seen in college and also in the pros, young talented teams seem to only get better as the year goes on. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, and it's like they're kind of playing with that, they got nothing to lose type attitude.
Right.
Because, I mean, they're already achieving above and beyond, and I think we can all agree what was predicted of the Commanders this year. And so, Daniels, it's almost like he's and I'm not questioning this, but it's almost like he's getting thrown into position and being so successful that it's almost like you don't want him to realize what he's doing because he may get nervous and screw it up, right? Like it's
right.
Like he's totally outplaying what he should be doing. He's doing a phenomenal job there.
Yeah, some people say he doesn't know what he doesn't know, and sometimes that's a benefit. But man, such composure. I really like. I'm a Washington fan, so a little homer on that, but I'm just surprised to everyone else. I mean, this has been quite the turnaround. So those are the 2 teams that you didn't have in there, but my top 2 top heavy teams, Lions and Chiefs. And if I had to pick one, it'd be the Chiefs, just because they win. But I did see they for being 9-0. They have the smallest point differential of all time for a team that ever started 9-0, with only 58 points point differential so far, being undefeated. So and that makes me nervous going to the playoffs if you're having all these close games, one bad game. But you got Andy Reid and you got Mahomes, and their defense is a top 3 defense in the NFL. It bodes well for the playoffs and all the experience, of course. All right, Johnny, we don't care what you have to say. Let's move on to something else.
Oh my gosh! I mean, am I part of this damn show? Are you kidding me? I'm not sure if I like this whole guest appearance kind of stuff here, man.
So go ahead.
All right, let me jump right in. But before I go, what you said, Jaden is what you say about his ceiling? What is it? His roof is the ceiling, or what did Michael Jordan say?
That's the Michael Jordan thing. Yes, the roof is the ceiling.
Yeah.
All right, I'll just start a couple different things, of course, but I got Baltimore at my number 5, and I got them over Pittsburgh. I don't trust Pittsburgh yet. I don't trust Russell yet, but I like what he's doing. So he, another win or 2, and then I think we got to start believing in him, because they got Tomlin as the coach, and he's one of the greatest coaches ever to coach in the NFL.
Well, he's going to get 10 wins. I mean, every year he finds a way to get 10 wins.
It's unbelievable, man. Tomlin is fantastic. So, but I do have Baltimore in there. Lamar and Derrick Henry, that dynamic duel is frightening. And, like you said, when they added Derrick Henry in that running game, man, that running game wins championships. So they're right there. They actually dropped out of mine last week, but they're back in. My number 4, the Philadelphia Eagles. People, will you come on? Start believing in my Eagles again. 5 straight wins. They're winning by 20 and over 20 points a game. They beat that team that Get Up and ESPN love to talk about every morning this past weekend, the Dallas Cowgirls or Cowboys, whatever they are. But that was disgusting. I mean, did Dallas even show up for that game? And those fans, when I was watching the game, I was at the beach watching the game, and they're showing the fans in their stadium with their head down, and it makes me so happy to see that.
Can you make a case currently with Dak maybe out for the season, probably out for the season, that the Dallas Cowboys are the worst team in the NFL?
Right now,
I guess
we'll see soon when they play the Panthers soon. The Panthers have won a couple games. New England's looking better. They're looking worse. Yep. I mean, maybe the Titans might be the worst team, but you can make a case that the Dallas Cowboys are at least the bottom 3 team in the NFL, which no one saw coming into the season, winning 3 straight seasons with 13 wins or more. But they
are the worst team. When you got Cooper Rush throwing for 45 yards on Sunday, and they stuck with him, and he's starting again this week, they said something's going on, and I don't know if you guys watched the game, but they showed, how they always show the booth up there with Jerry Jones, and he wasn't in his seat. I mean, that was a picture that was a beautiful thing. But anyway, number 3, I have Buffalo. You talk about weak divisions, man, they're in a weak division, but I love the way they play. They got a lot going on. Josh Allen, I think he's got enough targets right now, but he's playing well because he's controlling the football. So I got Buffalo at number 3. But back to the Eagles. I mean, come on. My number 4, they're loaded right now, and they're all healthy. So his Devontae Smith and AJ Brown healthy again. That makes Hurts a whole different quarterback. And that man Saquon Barkley was the greatest pickup in the since what's his name, Herschel Walker, for crying out loud, man. It's a beautiful thing. So Buffalo number 3, number 2 and 1. 2 is Detroit. I mean, I don't care what like you said, 5 picks and they still win the football game. That's how well-rounded this team is. They ended up winning that game. So you got to put Detroit right there. And Kansas City, and I loved, Jeremy, what you said. They're on cruise control, and they're 9-0. That's how good they are,
Sure.
So those the top 2 teams are in a class by themselves. But Buffalo, the Eagles, and Baltimore are right there. And real quick on San Francisco, they scare me. Right now, I don't put them in that Power 5, but I think you're looking ahead a little bit. And, if they're starting to get healthy, that team can probably make it to the Super Bowl again. So, but that's my top 5.
Who's the team that you guys have maybe seen play this year that you feel like should have a better record than they do, and down this back stretch could make some noise? I got my team. I just want to know if it's the same as you guys.
Well, the
3. Let's all say it at the same time. 3, 2, 1.
Cincinnati
Bengals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, against the Ravens, they played the Ravens twice, 2 shootouts. He had almost, I think he's hitting on 700 and some yards in those 2 games with 2 losses.
Yes.
Right.
And then these past 2 games, one of them was the Ravens, and I forget who they played before. He had almost 400 yards against the Ravens. He's got almost 700 yards the last 2 games, 2 losses.
Yes.
Right.
He threw for 5 touchdowns. I mean, if they were winning, if they were, let's say they were even 6-4 or 7-3 or whatever, he would be the MVP candidate. He's having a great year, Joe Burrow.
Gotcha.
Well, yeah. I mean, you think about this. Jared Goff had 5 picks and won, and then Joe Burrow had 5 touchdowns and lost. It was a weird. Those are 2 polar opposite games. But yeah, they're better than their record. But their team, they're not going to even make the playoffs unless they really right the ship. And they're definitely more talented than most of the teams in the NFL, which is crazy.
Go
ahead, Jeremy.
I was at a conference in Cincinnati last December, and Kansas City was in town, so I made a point to go to that game. They got a good thing going up there, man. I think they're going to end up winning the Super Bowl or something up there. They got a great fan base, great just fanfare the day of the game and stuff. I think they got a good thing going up there. And Cincinnati's just kind of that team I'm looking at. I'm like, why is their record not better? They just, I don't know. They've been in some shootouts and stuff like that. And I guess if you try to split numbers and start looking at stats, it has to be defensively that they're struggling.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, I mean, if you're scoring, 34, 35 points a game in the NFL, you should be winning the majority of those games.
I would say
they don't average that, but they score that a lot. Jeremy, let me ask you this. What is the main difference? Because most people, like 99.9% of people, never play any pro sport. But the difference from going from high school to college and college to the NFL, would you say, as an athlete? What did you notice the biggest difference?
The biggest difference in the NFL, and people are absolutely, they shake their head because they don't even think about this. But, when you make it, the givens are you're fast, you're big, you're physically gifted, and everything. But what got me with the NFL is how smart they were at their craft. Like, they are so intelligent pre-snap to where, like, as an offensive lineman, if I changed just the slightest thing in my stance, they picked up on it. They knew what I was doing. He's pulling, or, it's pass play or whatever. They know. So pre-snap, they've watched so much film and they just know you like the back of their hand by the time you line up and play, that pre-snap, they're set up so with their intelligence, their football IQ, that when that ball snap, their God-given crazy athletic ability just takes over. But pre-snap is what gets me so much with NFL players. They are so freaking smart. It is unbelievable. It is that, people talk about how fast people are. Yeah, that's a given up there. That's a given. Chances are their player was the fastest player definitely on their high school team or the biggest player on their college team. But when you get up to the NFL, everybody's that at one point in time in their life. They were the biggest guy in college. I was the best player on my college team and stuff like that. And so up there, I mean, what really and truly gets those guys up there, what separates them from maybe somebody that was faster than them on their high school team or their college, it's their football IQ. It's amazing how smart they are.
You know what? And I've consumed so much sports and sports broadcasting and podcasts and things. I've never heard someone say that, and that's probably the most true. Because the lazy answers, they're faster and stronger. Yeah, we get that. But yeah, that's fascinating. That the intelligence and noticing every small thing so they can have an advantage. That's fascinating. I love that. That's a great answer.
And what gets me so much about the NFL, I was a big guy up there. I was 330, 340 pounds at my time. I was a big guy. And I mean, and don't get me wrong, you see some guys up there that are absolutely ginormous. I mean, they are huge, they are giants. But for the most part, a lot of those guys, particularly your offensive defensive line, they put on street clothes, and if you passed them at Friendly Shopping Center, you wouldn't even think twice.
Right.
It's really crazy. Some of those guys are just good football players. They're not the biggest, they're just straight up good football players. And with street clothes on, you wouldn't even give them a second look.
Let me piggyback on what Jeremy's saying about in between the ears. I mean, that makes so much sense. When he was saying it, I'm like, oh my God, what a great clip this is right here. But you look at other sports, and the first thing that was coming to mind when you were saying that was Tiger Woods. Everybody, all those golfers can hit the ball as far and, as accurate most of the time. But it was between his ears that dominated his game. So any professional athlete, I think that's the advantage, is between the ears, in basketball. Let's go to Michael Jordan, of course. I mean, he was just smart as hell. He knows the game and Kobe Bryant and LeBron. I mean, that is what, hard work separates them, but it's between their ears, man. They're so focused on what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Well, let's move on to our next segment. And Johnny, I want you to lead this. But first, let's thank our sponsors. Our title sponsor is Teed Up Indoors. 120,000 different simulated golf courses to choose from. Rain, shine, snow, sleet. You can go and have a great time with your friends and family indoors. Teed Up Indoors. Check them out. We have 336 Realty. I've used them multiple times for houses, buying and selling. 336realty.com. They're awesome. Jeremy Phillips told you about his company, Elite Performance Chiropractic. It was epchiropractic.com. You can rewind it if you want to hear more about his company. He can tell us more about it a little bit later, too, as well. And then, Johnny, you got some friends.
I got my buddy up north with Imperial Marketing Solutions. He specializes in sales of reconditioned Dell, IBM, and HP IT hardware. He sells reconditioned computers and laptops, especially with Christmas coming up. You got to call my man Jimmy Snow at 315-345-8349. He'll set you up with a nice little Christmas gift that you want to give out. And then another buddy of mine over near where Jeremy has his practice, Brian Demore with Estate Jewelry and Loan. If you need to sell jewelry, diamonds, watches, or coins, Brian will give you his trusted advice, and I'm telling you, he's paying top dollar for that kind of stuff. Again, it's Estate Jewelry and Loan, and you can reach them at estatejewelryloan.com.
And they also are apparel sponsors, Surf Hippie Fishing. They do more than apparel. They do all sorts of fishing accessory, gear, rods, the holding rods, the carts. They set up fishing tournaments. Surf Hippie Fishing with the P.com. All right. So, Johnny, you want to lead us in the kind of this or that? Like, who do we trust more? Certain quarterbacks, certain players, certain coaches. Why don't you go ahead with that?
Yeah, I thought this was kind of a cool idea. A buddy at work who is an avid listener Tom Bloomer kind of threw this at me, and I said, man, we got to bring this on the show. But who do you trust most? Let's start off with either Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. And I'm talking about right now. Who do you trust the most? And I got it, and I'm a Josh Allen fan. I'll tell you my answer. But Lamar is playing football like he's in the backyard right now. 24 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So he's protecting the ball. I trust him. He knows how to hand off the ball. Who wouldn't when you got Derrick Henry behind you? But he also he's got like almost 600 yards rushing as well. So as of right now, my answer to who do I trust more, Lamar or Josh? And it kills me to say it because I'm a Josh Allen fan, but I got to go Lamar. What do you guys think?
What do you think, Jeremy?
I think I'm going Lamar too, just by sheer. I mean, I think right now, if the season ended, I mean, he's probably the leader for the MVP, I would say, based on his stats and stuff. Yes, I'm trusting him. He's playing lights out right now. He's playing good, smart, intelligent football, as we said. He's not, turning the ball over and stuff like that. But I think him having the weapon with Derrick Henry, taking a load off of him, if Baltimore has the same record right now without Derrick Henry, let's say that Derrick Henry thing never happened, then Lamar, chances are, would have to have more rushing yards.
Yep.
If you think about it, somebody's got to pick up the slack, right? And it would probably be him. And then it goes along the lines of how, he's not a big guy. How can that hold up in the NFL? Is he injured at this point in time of his career? So I think the Derrick Henry trade, not only for the sheer talent of Derrick Henry, but for him taking the wear and tear off of Lamar, is worked phenomenally well at this point in time of the season, which transitions into Lamar being healthy, less turnovers, all of that, having them more successful right now. So I'm trusting Lamar right now just for the as well as he's playing, but the supporting cast that's taking that load off of him. A lot of the pressure's been taken off of Lamar this year, and I think we're seeing the benefit of that.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess who I trust more, Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen? My answer would be Patrick Mahomes. So anyway, Johnny, what's the next one? Now, the thing is this, if Patrick Mahomes, and I hate when people say you could do this with Michael Jordan in his heyday. I think if Patrick Mahomes wasn't in the AFC, Josh Allen would have already been to a couple Super Bowls. Yep. I don't think you say the same with Lamar Jackson. He comes up the smallest in the playoffs. And so I don't trust him in the playoffs. I think he's the best regular season quarterback the last 2 or 3 years. But until I can see him do more in the playoffs. I mean, Josh Allen is like one defensive stop with 20 seconds to go. If you remember the AFC Championship game a couple of years ago against Kansas City, we're like, oh, or maybe it was a divisional round game, but all they had to do was get one stop, and they had like a 15 to 20 yard pass right off the bat down the middle to Kelsey. They got in range for field goal, then they won in overtime, Kansas City. But from playing in the Super Bowl. So anyway, I trust Josh Allen more long term for this year in the playoffs.
Yeah, and he's a beast. Josh Allen is a beast, man. He plays injured the whole 9 yards.
And I think we may see. I think the reason why Lamar hasn't been more successful in the playoffs is I think by the time he gets to the playoffs, he's running on fumes.
Yeah.
I think that's physically true. He's beat down and stuff like that. So maybe the Derrick Henry thing, kind of getting back to what I was saying, maybe that takes the pressure off of him physically and mentally to where they are able to make that playoff push. It should be interesting to see if it's a different Lamar in the playoffs this year.
He's got to prove it. He's got to prove it. All right, my next one's kind of interesting. And, Jared and I might fight over this one. Jaden, who do you trust most right now? Jaden Daniels, the rookie, who's having a hell of a year, or my man Jalen Hurts? I'll let go ahead. You go first.
Okay. Well, I trust, as a Commanders fan, Jalen Hurts more. He has more experience. He was one possession away from winning a Super Bowl, and he played lights out in that Super Bowl against Kansas City. And so experience to me, because trumps maybe somebody who has a higher ceiling at this point. Do I want Jalen or Jaden Daniels to go further? Of course, but I trust someone who's been there. He's not that much older, but he's been there. He's played in bigger games, and you have to try. I give the nod to him, although he did have that run. Now, let me tell you this: if AJ Brown is out, I trust Cooper Rush more than I trust Jalen Hurts. He's total trash without AJ Brown. Remember, I told you that earlier in the season, Johnny. I said, Jalen. You know it's true. Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts without
Trash,
AJ Brown.
trash. Did you actually
Listen,
say trash for Jalen Hurts?
how about dog water? That's what my son says. Dog water. He's buns. I don't know what younger people say. No, but he is. I mean, statistically, without AJ Brown, he is a middle of the road to bottom third quarterback. Statistically, with AJ Brown, he has similar numbers to Patrick Mahomes. So with that, but anyway, I do trust Jalen Hurts more. Jeremy.
All right.
I'm right there in agreement with Jalen Hurts, particularly with you got Saquon Barkley lining up behind him.
Yep.
I mean, again, Jalen Hurts is, I think, at this point in time of the season, without the Saquon Barkley deal happening, I think he's probably got more rushing yards this year than what he does now. I don't know what his current average is, but I'm sure it's down in recent years. And again, when you start throwing in health and the wear and tear of this long season, I think we're probably seeing a better version of Jalen Hurts right now.
Yep.
And I just supporting Cash right now, but if it's a 1-game playoff and it comes down, somehow, Washington and Philly come down and they have to play each other. I mean, it's hard to bet against a rookie that has nothing to lose, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's phenomenal to watch him play. Like, he don't realize how big of a stage he's on or something. I think I'm just waiting on him to wake up or something, but it's maybe the playoffs will do that if they make it. But right now, I got to take Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, well, and I love both the answers because it's all about experience and all that. That's not taking anything away from Jaden Daniels. But the cool thing is this Thursday night, they play each other. That's kind of why I brought it up. So it could be very, very interesting. I've been rooting. I don't know if you've been listening to the show, Jeremy, but I'm a big Eagles fan, but I've been rooting for the Commanders. But now I'm done. Okay, they won their few games, and I'll clap and all that.
Yeah.
But it's time for them to start losing. But I love this Jaden Daniels. So that team is very lucky to have that kid.
Yeah, such better matchups this year on Thursday Night Football too. I think that was part of the Bezos deal or something. I don't know if Bezos throw that and he's like, "You're not putting Arizona versus Tennessee on me every Thursday night."
He's like, "Do you want your Amazon packages on time?"
Exactly.
You recognize the second richest man on earth.
We had Baltimore and Cincy going at it last week on Thursday night. It was amazing.
Yeah. Love it. So
major upgrade.
Thursday should be a good one. All right, last one, real quick. I think this is an interesting one, especially now. Now, 4 weeks ago, I would have had different. Who do you trust most, Nick Sirianni or Dan Wear My Hat Backwards Quinn?
Let's let Jeremy go on this one.
You go.
I mean, I like Dan Quinn right now because I think he's doing a lot with a lot less pieces. He's got great experience. His resume speaks for itself. I like what he's done with this Washington team. I really do. I really do like it. I think they haven't complicated things for the young quarterback and stuff. And their defense is just playing tenacious. I like what Dan Quinn's done with this team.
Yep.
And Philly. Philly fans, bless their heart. They'll turn on a coach real quick. If they lose against Washington on Thursday, Nick Sirianni's out of there on Friday as far as they're concerned.
Yeah, they're calling for his job after like week 3. I'm like, okay.
This is a fan base that threw snowballs at Santa Claus.
That's right.
I know.
If you're going to boo Santa, you don't care about some Nick Sirianni.
Yeah.
Johnny, do we even need to ask you what you're going to say?
No, but I will say, I like Sirianni's. That Italian little, he's gets in your face. He gets excited on the sidelines. And I love that he takes chances. I really do. I love going for it and fourth down all the time. I mean, if he didn't, I'd be complaining I don't know. I like him taking chances. And there's, if they were 2-7, I'd have a different opinion. But I mean, the guy has been winning ever since he got there. So, but I'm just not a Dan Quinn fan, only because he was with the Cowboys for a little while, and that hat on backwards. I mean, once you're over 30 years old, put your hat on right, will you?
Yeah. Get off my lawn, Johnny says. Yeah, I'm with you a little bit on that. Now, this is a very good question. Now, if it's a Super Bowl, I would trust neither one of them. They've both given up double-digit leads as a head coach in the Super Bowl. Uh, Dan Quinn famously the 25-point lead as the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. I don't know if that's more a Shanahan issue or a head coaching issue. I do think Dan Quinn definitely with his second chance as a head coach in the NFL, he knows that building a good roster comes from also having good coordinators and shows he has no ego to bring in the NFL is going more towards young offensive coordinators, and to bring in a former head coach and a hot shot offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury, shows me all I need to know about Dan Quinn. He has no ego. He's not worried about somebody that people could say, if anything goes a little bit wrong, let's put this guy in. And Cliff Kingsbury has done a masterful job with this offense. They have really a three-headed running attack with Eckler, Robinson. They're making the game seemingly easy for Daniels, but Daniels has been great. And the defense has gotten better. The defense has improved because that was the weakness. It's still the weakness of the Washington, their secondary, but they've made moves. They have a better front office. And then Nick Sirianni, obviously, he was 3 points away, 4 points away from winning a Super Bowl already. So who do I trust more? Is A.J. Brown playing?
A.J. Brown will be playing.
It's a tough one. I would have to go with Dan Quinn at this point.
Okay. All right.
I think because Dan Quinn just has with more experience, he's seen a lot. And I think with that second chance, I think some coaches with a second chance, they've had time to sit out and think about the things that went wrong, and they could, I think, adapt better in game because they've seen it as a spectator without all the pressure on. Like, oh, wait a minute, this is what I would do. I don't know, but that's pretty much a toss up. If all players are healthy, to me, it's more of a toss up. Right. Now, we did tell Jeremy it'd be 30 minutes. We're a little bit over, so we can.
Is that all right?
Yo, I'm fine. I'm enjoying myself. Yeah.
Let's do the quick little college talk, and then finish it up. What do you think?
Sounds good.
All right.
And by the way, we're joined by former NFL player Jeremy Phillips, and so we appreciate him joining us. It's been great having you on.
Just a quick little college type thing. Coach Prime, man, I love him. Deion Sanders. They're 7-2 right now. They got 3 games to go. They play Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. They're all losing records. They could be 10-2. Can Coach Prime make that playoff top 12? Wouldn't that be something, man?
Well, I know that if I were TV executives, I'd pray that he's in the top 12.
Yep.
For a ratings perspective, the only game there that I think could be a trap game is the University of Utah, because historically they're well coached. They win 10 games a year. They're usually playing either at one point Mountain West title and then Pac-12 title. Recently, they're just having an off season, but they gave BYU and their rivals all they could handle, and BYU's right now at the playoff start would be the 4 seed. So Utah to me could be a trap game. You're thinking, whoa, we can make the playoffs now. That's the only team I would worry about because Utah actually has a good defense. But I would love to see Coach Prime in prime time in the first ever 12-team college football playoff.
Yep. What about you, Jeremy?
I think it would be great. Obviously, I think the NCAA and the sponsors involved with the playoffs and stuff. Obviously, I think they want Prime there. I mean, he makes money. I mean, he does. He sells tickets. He gets people tuning in. I mean, before they were getting so many primetime games, I was staying up till 9 to watch the West Coast game start because they were playing.
I'm with you.
I'm anxious to see. Anxious to see if they make it. I mean, I think Oklahoma State at the end of the season is going to be tough. I mean, Oklahoma State just seems to always be that team. I mean, they've knocked off Oklahoma several years in the past with that one of those last games of the year. They kind of put it together and beat a team. But, if it comes down to that game, I don't see Primetime losing that game,
No.
to keep them possibly out of the playoffs.
No, it would be great, but I mean, if they finish at 10-2, well, BYU's in first place in the Big 12 right now, but that would be special. That would be fun to watch, and with his kid Shador Sanders behind center, I mean, there's no debating this. This kid can quarterback, man. I mean,
Sure.
they're saying he's going to be the number one pick, but I'd love to see him get in there. And I guess my final question is, do you think Shador Sanders should be the number one pick in the NFL draft next year?
I
If I'm
mean,
go ahead, Jeremy. No. Yeah.
If I'm, obviously it's based on need. If the team, like, I think if Carolina ends up at the number one pick, I think since they didn't move Bryce at the trade deadline, and plus with his recent success, having 2 wins here and stuff like that, if he keeps building on that, I think they go with the future being in Bryce, so they don't necessarily need a quarterback at that slot. He's probably going to be the first quarterback taken, but it depends on who gets the number one pick. At this point in time, I don't see Carolina doing that if they're the number one pick. But yeah, he can without a doubt play. I think the kind of the hidden thing that nobody's talking about that we kind of somewhat suspect, it depends on who has the number one pick and if Prime kind of wants them to play for that organization. You have to think you have a very seasoned father, much the same as Eli's dad, as Archie Manning, when he kind of shunned him going to San Diego. A lot of people don't remember this. He was supposed to go to San Diego first.
Yeah.
And Archie, I think the night before the draft, had said, we don't want to go to San Diego.
Wow.
And I totally look for Deion to kind of be very vocal on that if that situation arises with whoever's got the number one pick.
Yeah, and I think if Tennessee has the first pick, which I think they're going to move off their quarterback. I think their head coach has disdain for their quarterback, but was it Shipley or what's his last name? I can't remember, but I don't think it's correct. Levin. I'm not forgetting his name. That's how bad he is. I think Tennessee. I even think Dallas. I think Dallas, if they have the number one pick, if they sit Dak out and they continue to lose, they're going to go with that. And then you got Prime. Who knows? Prime might be their head coach. You never know.
You stole my thunder, man. You just stole everything I had, man.
Well, that's why we don't talk beforehand, because maybe we should.
Jerry and Deion definitely have a history, and from what I can tell, they still are, still love each other, and it's not out of the realm to do business again.
I mean, he would be a perfect fit to coach that franchise. He really would. That would. I mean, I would almost like the Cowboys a little bit if that happened. I mean, that would blow up the NFL right there.
And what free agent wouldn't want to play for Prime? I mean, without a doubt, been there, done that. A lot of these former players, they're really attracting a lot of your big free agents because, these guys know that they've been there before, and there's something to be said for that.
And then with Deion Sanders, on top of that, you have a guy that is an ultimate branding machine. Obviously, with Jerry Jones is a branding machine, but you have Deion Sanders as a player, and if you know that you're one of the top players, he's going to help you and guide you to getting, if he doesn't take all the endorsements, but getting more endorsements and show you the ropes on that. If not, though, although Deion Sanders is a coach of Dallas, and if his son is the quarterback, that's must-see TV. It could be a disaster, but it'd be fun to watch. But if not, let's say that's not the case. Do you think Deion Sanders might take the job at his former university, Florida State, if that is an opening after this season?
I mean, there was an uproar their last hire as to why he wasn't considered.
Yeah,
right.
So I'm definitely thinking that the powers that be at Florida State, if they move on from their current coach or whatever, they're going to catch. If Deion's not brought in for an interview for that job, then there's some heads going to roll there. I think he's got to be considered for what he's done so far.
And I could see Deion going and staying in the college game. I think he's more of a teacher. I think he really cares about these kids. I really do. I'm a believer in how he's handling these things on the field and off the field. So, boy, he's got two. He can pick wherever he wants to go, but between Florida State and Dallas, I mean that could be very interesting in the coming months.
Yeah, I mean, with the college football as college sports as a whole changing over to this endorsement, the NIL, the transfer portal and stuff, you are going to have somebody like a Deion that, one, can attract players via the portal, and two, be able to handle these players and almost encourage them and guide them with all this endorsement stuff. I mean,
Yep.
because he's getting it too. I mean, he's on Geico commercials or and stuff. I mean, it's he's a commodity. He really is, and that's what these players are. And I think
All
that's
right.
why they're attracted to him, because they feel like a sense of that he can guide them through this process.
All right, Jeremy, we want to hear it. Come on, you're on the overtime with Jared P and Johnny O show. When you were at Lenore Ryan, how much money were they paying you? Come on with it.
Oh, I look back, I think about this all the time. What's sad about the transfer portal? Like, obviously, if there's a coaching change or a bad situation for a player, I want that player at the age of 18, 19, 20 years old to be able to go somewhere and
Yes.
set themselves up to be more successful. I get
Yep.
it. But the other half of me is like, man, this is really playing in with this generation of not challenging and facing adversity. The first sign of rough waters, and they're hitting the transfer portal and they're out of there. And I think that can kind of somewhat handicap them for life.
Absolutely.
Believe me, there's plenty of times when my Amex bill comes in and I wish there was a transfer portal.
Right.
There's not. But what's sad about this stuff is, there's not. You're going to hear very few stories like mine, or like Kyle Duggar, that is a Lenore Ryan grad. He's playing safety for the New England Patriots now. This transfer, I would have left after my sophomore year. I wouldn't have finished at Lenore Ryan. I'd have went on to greener pastures and probably, try to improve my draft status and stuff like that, playing for ACC or an SEC school. So you're really the old small college kid that made it. It's going to be few and far between.
Yep.
Even more so now with the transfer portal, because as my career as I grew, and one of the reasons why I wasn't really highly recruited is at my size, and then I grew in college, and now I'm a D1 body size player playing for Division II school, and for me to transfer back then, I would have had to sit out a year and all this stuff, and now I could have just hit the road and just picked up where I left off immediately. I don't think I would have stayed around. I mean, I loved my time at Lenore Ryan. Don't get me wrong, but I would have been somewhere and trying to play bigger ball and improve my draft status.
Oh,
No, that's great insight, and that's all true. I mean, it's definitely changed the game for fans. It can be exciting, that also can be incredibly frustrating, especially I think in college basketball. It's like that's a whole nother. We can get that some other time, but that's your whole team turns over every year, and it's just kind of hard to.
It's got to be tremendously difficult. Like, I mean, right now without the transfer portal NIL stuff, Roy Williams may be still coaching. Coach K's probably still coaching. Obviously, the Virginia coach still coach. I mean, there's been a lot of turnover just because the guys are like, this. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. We're out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's just but it's changing. It's changing. I'm just while we're talking, if you want to hear my bold prediction that I've been telling patients and stuff of what's going to happen, I think with definitely college football and the evidence, the writing is on the wall. If I was an oil sheik and had tons of money, I would buy up the top 40 or top 50 college football programs, buy their TV programs, buy their contracts, and I would set up my own league, just like the Live Tour in golf, and that would be it.
Wow.
Wow.
And, a couple of weeks ago, you can look this up, a couple of Disney executives met with the top 70 athletic directors in the country, and talks are that's where it's going.
Really?
Wow.
So I think these Appalachian states and stuff like that, it's going to be a totally different league. They're going to be playing in what we probably now know as big Division I football, and then these upper echelon schools, probably all your SECs, all your ACCs, these big money schools, they're going to be playing in your own league before it's over with. That's my bold prediction.
I like that.
Yeah, I
like
mean,
it.
it is a business, and money talks. And you got a trillionaire coming in, or people worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Yeah, that'd be hard to say no to. I know if I was a player, I'd be like, let me go to that league instead of killing
I
myself
mean,
through.
these guys got $100 million to buy out Phil Mickelson. I mean,
Yeah.
they can go buy up Notre Dame's TV contract with NBC, no problem.
No, absolutely.
Jeez.
So that's my bold prediction. Maybe this will come up in 10 years from now, and I'll be like, oh my God, that guy was an idiot, or maybe I'll be a genius. I don't know, but
And it
I
makes
just
sense.
totally see there's just so much upper echelon, with the Alabamas, with the Texas, with those guys. They're in a whole different ballpark now
Yep.
than and the fact that they can compete, that Appalachian State, and not talking bad about Appalachian State, they have a great program. I love Boone, North Carolina, but they're trying to compete with Austin, Texas. Come on,
Yeah.
it's just it's a different world, and kind of unfair to some of those the smaller schools, the mid-major schools and stuff.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Well, we're gonna clip that, and that'll be on TikTok later, today or tomorrow. That's
That's
it.
right.
I like the bold take for sure.
But I thought it
All
was
right.
interesting the Disney execs meeting with the top
Yeah.
70 athletic directors in the country. I was like, here we go. This is my bold prediction. So
Yeah.
Well, real quick, a little piggyback off that. I've always dreamed of, it's not a prediction, but I wish they would, and I don't think they ever could, but maybe in a situation like you're bringing up, it could happen. Football, which, it's all about football because that's where all the money's coming from. That's why these conferences have just, we got the Syracuses in the ACC, and we got, California and Stanford in the ACC. It makes no sense. But let football have their own conferences, and all the other sports go back to where they were. I mean, more regional. I wish they could do that, and with a program like you're talking about, they can maybe go back to doing something like that.
I think so. I mean, it kind of a test run with that they didn't even realize they were doing was Notre Dame. During COVID, they joined a conference. I mean, Notre Dame
Yeah.
drives me crazy. Joined a conference already, but I get what they're
Right.
saying. There's so much money and revenue in that team and the tradition, and they got an exclusive TV deal and stuff like that. But they joined the ACC basketball conference.
Yeah.
And thank goodness the ACC officials worked a back end deal to where, like, oh, we're going to let you join our basketball conference, but you got to guarantee us a couple of football games.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they've been doing Notre Dame already. Their football program's kind of been in a separate league from the rest of their athletic program.
Right. Yeah. So that is like a test pilot program for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's some fascinating stuff. Sports is great. There's always, storylines and interesting things happening. And Jeremy, we appreciate you joining us. That was a lot of fun. And not have to talk to Johnny as much. That's even better. No, Johnny's a great dude. But yeah, if you want to, sponsor our podcast like Jeremy has, he's made millions of dollars since he sponsored us. And the information's on the ticker there, but you can email Johnny at sportscarolina@gmail.com. And Jeremy, with Elite Performance Chiropractic, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me anytime, man. This was awesome.
It
Thank
was
you,
great.
guys.
Thank you.
All right, until next time.
All right. See you guys.
See you.